The first stage of training with the rotator is all about building form and feeling, getting an orientation of your habits, adjusting them, being able to start to work on a fundamentally more sound set of turns, tilts, alignments and rotations. We're going to start off with alignments. You know, one of the most typical things I see, having given thousands, maybe tens of thousands of lessons, is as a right-handed player, the golfer reaches for the ball. Think what that does to the way and the position of the torso at address. It opens it up. From here, it's enormously difficult to create a simple backswing. What I want you to do to start off with, before we get into big motions, I want you just to think about how we can actually align that chest at address. Just having a little bit of awareness that the chest is square to the toe line, and hitting soft shots from here is going to start to build a very different motion. What most people will feel to start off with is that you are already a little rotated. What this is going to allow you to do is feel that the club can work in easier, and as it works in, you'll find it much easier then to start to turn your chest through the ball. So start small, be detailed, pay attention if there's a tendency of lining yourself, and hit some small shots from here. Just little punchy shots, pushing the ball away. Starting to get the idea that if we're in a line position, it's easier to move the right shoulder back. If it moves back easier, it will move out easier. So once you've created a good set of alignments, the second stage is really about starting to understand how the body works. A lot of players will move the shoulders in too much of a flat motion. What you'll notice with this is it actually moves my head across a lot, creating a whole heap of issues for a sport where I want to try and strike the ground in the same place each time. What I want you to think about in the second stage is in the backswing, the lead shoulder moves down a little bit. You can see the end of the cane starts to point somewhat down towards the ball. In the downswing, it moves back to square, and in the through swing, the right side moves down. This combination of rotation and tilts allows the head to stay very steady. This is critical if you want to return the club to the floor in the same place each time. So, little mantra, setting yourself up, really getting to the idea that check the alignment, pointing down in the backswing, down in the through swing. This is going to start to get you working on what we call a forward incline. Rather than something where you're going to stand up, you're actually going to work around staying down with your head in the right way. So let's clip a few. Nice and simple, not too much acceleration, just really working on those tilts. And you'll really get that sense of the chest starting to turn through the ball. It's a nice feeling. It's the opposite feeling to the hands and arms overworking or having to regather ourselves to get it back into balance. It becomes something that feels compact, something that works from the core, works from the rotation. The last thing I want you to start to do when you train is I want you to really start thinking about how the arms are connected. The great thing about the rotator is it really limits the lift, the up and down element. What this is going to do for you, because the arms don't lift, if you turn, you're really going to get like what we call an in to in movement. If I do that towards the camera, you know, from a through swing perspective, you can see if I just turn and do very little with my arms, the club wants to work in on a circular basis. This is great because it's a side-on sport. We stand side-on. We want the club to work in a little bit on the way back, out in front of us, in a little bit on the way through. So reducing arm lift is a real simplifier when it comes to hitting shots. Really, for me, I try and switch off the arms, focus on the turn back, turn through, get into the idea that we just collect the ball. One checkpoint you can have when you're working with the rotator is when you finish, your arms, chest, all going to be pointing in the same direction. This means that they've moved through the ball in a nice synchronized way. So take these 3 points, alignments, starting to look at the tilts and turns, and then lastly, reduce lifting those arms, starting to get a compact rotation-based action.